Larry, you know what's really funny? The first
What?
picture that I got of you, I said you look
Mhm.
like my brother, but now seeing you live, you get that you look like the guy from Breaking Bad.
I do. Which guy?
The one who ended up getting the guy who owned the Hermando the, the,
Oh,
the, the
yes. Oh, that he's pretty cool. I like him.
yeah, he's
Yes.
cool. You've never
Yeah.
gotten that
Okay.
from anybody in real life?
No, not at all. No. But I'll take it. Look, I'll take it. I want you to tell me I look like Denzel, but I'll take who I can get. Like I'll take who I can get.
I'm going to send you a picture of my brother back when you had facial hair. You looked exactly like my brother. Like, holy cows! Why did your team send me a picture of my brother, Sir Larry? How goes
No,
that?
as I get older, I take the beard off because too much gray. So
Well,
I
I
look
know how
younger now.
you're born in 68, which makes
I
you
was.
11 years older than me. So you're 57 years old.
I am.
You
I look good though. I look
you
good.
look extremely good. I seriously, when I was watching you, I thought we were the same age, and then when I went to your Wikipedia page, just to see what the Wikipedia says about you, you did not get called a far right extremist on Wikipedia. So I think you must be not trying hard enough.
I am not a far righter unless you are a mainstream lefty, in which case then I am a far stream writer. Correct? Yes.
Okay,
But
Larry,
the very far left actually like me.
Well, I say at some point the very far left sort of meets around the backside of the circle
Correct.
and becomes the
If
far
you go
right.
far enough left, you actually get your guns back. People don't realize that. If you got to go past Bernie though, like you really got to go far. If you go far enough left, you actually get your guns back. It's true.
But the problem with that, you go far enough left, you get your guns back, and that's only because they want to use them against Nazis. And I don't want to be hyperbolic.
You're not wrong, but I'm just saying you don't get your guns back. That's all I'm saying. So yes,
Larry. For those who don't know, I mean, I gave the 30,000 foot overview that you are a businessman turned. I don't know when you turned libertarian. You've now run several times for. I would say 3 times for the governor of New York.
3 times for governor of New York. Correct. This is my 3rd time I'm running now. And in 2018, I got 100,000 votes, got ballot access for Libertarian Party in New York State, first time ever. And then the next year, I crossed the state again, trying to build on what I was talking about. And we actually had 107 local victories in New York State. New York State went from 0 libertarians to 107 libertarians in 1 year. And that is one of my most proudest things that I was able to help achieve. And that was because we got on the ballot. For those who don't know, New York State is terrible with letting you on the ballot. You just cannot get on. Last year, New York State was the only state in the entire union that actually had no independent candidate for president on the ballot. 0, only 1. And then 2 years before that, as a governor, they had no independent candidates on the ballot for governor. They make it very hard. So once we did that and we had 107 local victories, immediately Cuomo said, oh, wait, this is a movement. We have to crush this. So he made massive changes to ballot access laws in the middle of a cycle. Utterly unconstitutional, utterly wrong. Did not matter. He did it anyway, and he trashed my entire party. And then he said he did it because he was worried about the Working Families Party. That was a lie. The Working Families Party still supports him, still supports Democrats, has changed nothing, still exists. The only party that was crushed by him was Libertarian Party. And it worked well, to be forward. He did it during lockdowns to ensure we couldn't do it. And give you an example how it works. You used to have to get 15,000 signatures in New York State on, I think it was an 8-week period in the summer. While that is challenging, it's not impossible. It can be done. And in a state of 18 million people, that's not a crazy amount, right? That shows you have some form of backing. You have some form of ability to organize. I'm not mad at that. That was fair, I thought, and we did it. It was challenging, but we did it. And it didn't cost a gazillion dollars. They then changed. They went, no, not 15,000, 45,000. They arbitrarily tripled the amount and said, not only can you not do it anytime during the summer, you have to do it in a 6-week period in New York State in April when there are still snowstorms in my state. And there's no fairs, there's no way to do anything. And they meticulously check every signature. So this is a true story. If you live in New York City, anybody knows New York City, Brooklyn is one of our boroughs. And if you live in Brooklyn, your address says so-and-so, so-and-so, Brooklyn, New York. That's the address. We all know this. But the official name of the county of Brooklyn is actually not Brooklyn. The official name is Kings County. So if you don't put Kings County, your signature is invalid, and a judge will agree with that. That's how broken our judiciary is. So yes, it's that hard.
It's amazing. I mean, when you say, like, on the one hand, it's hard to get on the ballot, and we were covering the RFK's attempts to get on the ballot.
Perfect example.
Yeah. And then they got him on the ballot. And then it was hard to get off the ballot when they discovered that leaving him on the ballot would be more harmful to the Democrat. They wanted to leave him on the ballot because they thought by him taking himself off the ballot, it would help the Republicans. And they fought to keep him on the ballot after having fought to keep him off the ballot.
And you would think that judges would care about things like the Constitution or people. No, they are loyal to the party infrastructure that keeps them in power. That is, this is the flaw of our judiciary in most states, and mine for sure, is that particularly the younger judges, newer judges, they are put in place by the party infrastructure. So they must be loyal to the party infrastructure, or they're not able to keep their jobs. Which is why you sometimes get better rulings from the Supreme Court or from senior judges, because they're no longer beholden. They already either are too old, they're not going to get thrown out, or they're not going to retire, or they've built up their own political power base to where they don't require the infrastructure of the party anymore. And sadly, that's how it works very often.
Now, before we get into all this, you say you're running for the third time, so it's either going to be, third time's a charm, or it's going to be the three. I don't say three strikes, because you might run again. Before we even get into all of that, and my wife was making fun of me before going live, playing the questions I was going to ask you. We got to back it up all the way to the beginning, as I do with everybody, to understand who you are and how you came to be where you are. Wikipedia says you're adopted.
I am. It's true.
Do you know the history of your birth mother or your birth family?
I will give you a very interesting story. I was lied to. I didn't know I was adopted until I was 30 years old.
See, okay, this is interesting. Is that the right way to do it in your experience?
No, of course not. That's fucking terrible. That's horrible. No. If you adopt somebody, just tell them. It's fine. It's just tell them.
At what age? At what age would you suggest is the best age to tell them?
As soon as they can understand what it is, just let them know. It's fine. Look, and here's an interesting situation. I'll give you my quick story if you want to hear it.
Please.
My adopted mother was born in Germany, and my adopted father met her in Germany. He was in the army. He came over. They came over. She couldn't have kids, and I learned this after I was 30. She couldn't have kids, and so she adopted me. Now, New York State, being the liberal bastion that it is, had racial laws for adoption. So I'm biracial, and so I could only be adopted by a biracial couple or a black couple. That's how that worked back in the day. There was actually racial laws in New York State back in the 60s. So I was adopted. So my adopted father was black. My adopted mother was white. Well, I'm biracial, so why would I think anything is different or weird? It works perfectly, right? All good. What happened, though, is that's my name, Sharpe. My name, Sharpe, comes from my adopted father. They got divorced, and I was raised by a man named Ronald Dawson. He was actually my stepfather, or what I thought was my adopted father. Whenever I talk about my father, I talk about him. He's the one who raised me to be a man. He died when I was 12, which, of course, wrecked me as a kid, a teenager. I had no good father figure as a kid. I was a lost teenager, and the Marine Corps saved my life. That's why I joined the Marine Corps. I joined the Marines because of that.
Not that it changes anything. Was his death illness? Was it sudden and unexpected?
It was cancer. No, it was cancer. It took him 2 years to die. I watched him die, which was terrible. But it taught me a lot of lessons, of course, as tragedy often does. It taught me how to handle death. It taught me the value of closure. What I've always learned is when someone's death is quick, it's good for them and hard for the family. When someone's death is long, it's bad for them and good for the family, because the family is able to say goodbye. So while my father had a horrible, slow, painful death, he had stomach cancer, colostomy bag, multiple, everything you can imagine, terrible. But again, this is funny. This is the 70s. He was in law enforcement. He was a cop, and then he was a corrections officer in Rikers Island here in New York City. And so the cops would come by and let him smoke weed in his squad car because he was in chemotherapy. This is the 70s. And the cops, they were busting people for weed. So they take the weed, right? And then give it to my father and let him smoke in the car. No one could arrest him because he's literally in the squad car smoking weed. So they let him smoke weed in the squad car. This is the 70s. They knew cannabis was okay in the 70s, right? They were already on it back then. The cops were like, yeah, do it. So yes. Anyway, I've yapped away. I was actually going to join the army. True story. I was going to join the army because my father was in the army. Sorry, the guy who I thought was my biological father was in the army. So I thought, well, I'm going to go join the army and go do that. So I go to the recruiting station, and there's a bunch of people there, right? All of them. And I go to the army guy, and he's like, oh, we're going to make you a general in 3 weeks. You're going to get a PhD, and the girls are going to love you, and promises me the world. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be great. So I'm still in high school. I've got like all the bumper stickers and all the stuff. I'm walking outside. The Marine Corps recruiter's waiting for me. And he's like, hey, son, the word I wanted to hear. He goes, you got a minute? I said, yeah, sure. I'm super smart. You can't, get me. I'm the cool kid. I'm 17. I know everything. Comes on inside. He goes, that Army guy, he promised you a lot. I said, yeah, I'm going to be a general and I'm going to be running the world and women going to love me, PhD, the whole deal. And he goes, you know what we call that in Marine Corps? I said, what? He said, we call that the solar plan. Everything under the sun. You know what I'm going to promise you? I said, what? He said, 4 hard years. Are you ready? And I went, yes. And I signed up. That's how I became a Marine.
That's amazing.
I look back on why I said yes. And then I didn't know. I just was like, yes, please. That's what I want. Yes. Like I desperately wanted that. I look back now and I was just looking for positive male role models. It's what I was looking for. And the Marine Corps gave me just in spades, everything I could imagine. I say all the time, Marine Corps saved my life. If you look behind me, you still see an edifice from the Marine Corps right there. That's my, when I was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, that piece is still there. I wear my Navy Achievement Medal on my lapel every day. And that was many, many years ago. Joined Marine Corps in 1985 was when I joined the Marine Corps. So many years ago is when I joined, and I loved the Marine Corps. And so to go to the next level. So while I'm in the Marine Corps, my mom is in a bad spot. One reason why I left, she was in a terrible spot. My mom was an addict. And she was also a felon. She could not handle my father's death and me leaving. And she went to a terrible spiral and she went to prison. So when I'm coming out of the Marine Corps, I go grab her. I get her out of prison and I spend all my savings to get her up and running so she can get back in action, right? Because if you ever had an addict or a felon in your life, it's very hard for them to get back into life, particularly after prison. It's very hard. She had lost everything.
The felony, was it for non-violent crimes or was it for?
Yes, it was for drugs. It was drugs.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, drugs. Yep.
And actually, yes. before we even get beyond that, and people might say this is too many questions, but when your father's dying for takes 2 years, do you have siblings? And what was the level of like your habituation to caregiving for your father as this is happening?
Yes, I was. I remember specifically as my father was very active when he was not ill. Obviously, he's in law enforcement, active, doing things like that. But when he got sick, he couldn't be anymore. So he took up a hobby to stay busy, and his hobby was photography. So he would go to an arboretum and take still photography. I was like 10. What 10-year-old wants to go do that? Right? I hated that. But I did it because I loved him and I wanted to spend time with him. So of course I did. I went and I watched, and then he would do like little shows and show us and we'd watch it. I would sit with him and watch the news. I was like 11. What 11-year-olds to watch the news? Want to be with my dad? Of course I did. And I remember my dad taught me how to play chess when I was about 4, maybe 4 or 5. And I was a very good chess player when I was a little guy. I grew up in the South Bronx, which is not a good neighborhood. But for those of you who know the South Bronx, back in the 70s, it was still a little bit Jewish. In the 40s and 50s, the South Bronx was very Jewish. It began to shift in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And some of the older Jewish retirees still lived there in the 70s who had never left the neighborhood, right? Those old retirees would go to the park and they would play chess. So I learned to play chess by old Jewish men. They taught me how to play chess when I was like 5, 6. I'd play them and then try to come back and beat my dad, right? So that's what I would do. When I was 11, I beat my dad. I never played again.
That's wild. Okay, sorry. That was the last parentheses before you come back. Your mom's a felon, recovering drug addict, and you're trying to get her back on her feet.
Yep. So we rock and roll. I get her back up on her feet. She finds a bunch of jobs. She gets jobs mostly being a waitress. One of the reasons why, for those who don't know, I travel New York State every single year. I go to all 62 counties. There's 62 counties in New York State. I travel, even when I'm not running. I've done over 700 events in New York State, live, always in local places. Usually diners, but it could be a gun shop, could be a vape shop, could be, I don't care what it is. Any place, any local place that's owned locally, I will go to. Why? Never forgot. When my mom got out of prison, the only people who would support her were the local businesses. She got back in action by having local people give her a job as a waitress or as an accounts payable clerk in a small business or something like that. That's where she was able to get herself up and running. That's how she did it. And I never forgot that. So I always support local businesses because local businesses are the ones who give people second chances. That's how you get second chances. Not big business goes out of its way to not hire felons, to not hire people, right? Goes out of its way to discourage that. But small businesses give you the second chance. And I always remember that. So I always support them. Everything I do is about supporting local businesses, supporting local diners, because I never forget that. That's how my mom got herself back in action. We do know a stat. When it comes to felons, there is a magic number, and that number is 5. If a felon is able to work for 5 years straight, the odds of them committing another crime are actually lower than the average American. So you actually have a safer community if you can get the felon to work for 5 years straight, which is why I have a policy. I'm going policy real fast, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
This goes into a policy that I make up. There's a policy I want to implement in New York State. If you hire a felon, you pay no payroll tax for that felon for 2 years. None. No state payroll tax at all for a felon for 2 years. Now, if you have a certain percentage of your population felon, I'm prepared to go to where you pay no state payroll tax at all if you maintain a certain level of felon population. And you might go, but Larry, that might be bad. People will take your felon for 2 years, get rid of them, and then hire another felon to keep the tax break. Good. You're training my felon population. Please do that. That is a whole lot cheaper than putting them in jail again for another 7, 8 years and paying for everything. Please do that. I hope you make your business model, all I do is train felons. Thank you. That would be amazing.
But
if you do that, then all of a sudden we're going to find we'll have a less recidivism rate, more people being working, and people who've dealt with felons in the past, within the first 3 months, whether they're really good or not. Within the first 3 months, they will do something stupid or they will be insanely loyal. Anyone who's with felons knows that. So within 3 months, you do your period of 3 months, your probation. If they're good in 3 months, you keep them for 2 years, life is good.
Well, from a practical perspective, this policy, I immediately think of the scene from Heat, where they had the felon working the line chef, and then his boss says, "You're going to pay me 20% of your salary, and if you mouth off, I'm going to say you stole, and you're going to go right back to jail." So how do you prevent?
Yes, this is exactly what happened to my mother, and I'm going to go to my next level and how I became an entrepreneur because of that exact thing. Now, here's the issue. What I just gave the felon leverage, because the felon goes, "Oh, I'll walk away, hire somebody else, and lose your payroll tax." I just gave the felon leverage. Now people want to hire the felon because they want to get their payroll tax reduced. Payroll tax in New York State, particularly in places like diners and such, is up to 80% of the amount of money they pay for their employee, up to 80%. So literally, if I have 10 employees in my diner, 10 employees in my local manufacturing plant, 10 employees someplace, I'm paying another 7 or 8 employees just in payroll tax. So if I drop a couple of those, I can hire another person. I can give people a raise. The felon now has a benefit. So if I start yapping off to my felon saying, "You're going to pay me X, Y, and Z, or I'm going to fire you, get rid of you," well, great. I'll go someplace else, and I'll tell all my felon friends what an asshole you are, and you'll get none of us. I just gave them actual leverage. You're correct. That's how we stop that. But I'm going to keep going. When that was happening to my mom, I couldn't stand it. I hated the fact that my mom was exactly what you said, a hostage. I hated it.
And when this is happening to your mom, you're in your early 20s. Your mom is how old at this time?
I'm actually in my late 20s when this is happening.
Okay.
Initially, early 20s. I'm in my early 20s. I'm a Marine. I'm in my last years of the Marine Corps. Then I got out and I still was helping her, but that's when I watched her struggle. I didn't watch her struggle as much when I was in the Marine Corps. I just threw all my money at her. I had all my savings I'd made. I just gave to her, right? I just got her a car. I signed for her lease because she was a felon. I signed for her lease, even though I was living in DC at the time, believe it or not. And I signed for a lease in New York. I didn't care. I was stationed. I was a platoon sergeant in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. That's where I was when the time came. I just gave her my money and just did it. I didn't care. What was I gonna do? She's my mom. She's my only relative. I don't have any brothers and sisters. That was it. She was my life. So I just gave it to her. It's fine. Anyway, so now it's later on, and I'm in my late 20s, and I'm watching her still struggle, and I'm mad at it. Like, I'm upset. I'm bothered by it. And I don't know what to do. So I went from being a Marine to being a teacher. And I came back to, I said, there's no money, none of that. So I said, I got to do other stuff. So I started becoming a sales rep so I can make some money, right? Well, my mom is doing some menial job again, like exactly what you're talking about. And I said, this is my simple mind, how do you not get fired? How do you not become a hostage? Oh, you own the company. Then no one can fire you. Done. That's it. So that was my movement into entrepreneurship. That's how I became a truck driver. So I said, I have to go get a truck driver's license, but that's a CDL. And felons have a problem with that. And my mom had by then married another guy who was my stepdad at that point, and he was also a felon. So that wasn't going to happen. So I had to instead go to find the biggest truck you could possibly buy in New York State without a CDL. And I think at the time it was a 24-foot box truck. I think that's what it was. This is many years ago. I think that's what it was. So I said, we're buying one. We're going to start a business. It's going to be a truck driving business. And I told my stepdad at the time, I said, and the business is going to be 100% in my mom's name. She's 100% owner. He said, what about me? I said, no, you're an employee. He went, what? Well, I'm working here too. I said, I don't give a shit. 100% my mom, and I don't have ownership either. I'm an employee. 100% my mom. And he's like, why? I said, she's never gonna be fired again. Never. 100%. Never again. He went, well, maybe. I said, then no deal. The deal is 100% my mom or no. That's the deal. There's no negotiation. Go fuck yourself or 100% my mom. That's the deal. He said, deal. And that was it. And so I started that business. We ran for 2 years. I got her up and running. I did most of the sales, got up and running. She was dispatching. I drove in New York City, box truck. But anyway, but whatever. I did what I had to do. She got up and running. And then I left. And I went and started, I worked for Bill Bratton, believe it or not, the former police commissioner of New York City, selling pre-employment screening and background investigations. I just went off and did sell stuff. So yeah, that's my foray, my first foray into entrepreneurship.
What's the word? That is the genesis story. How, is your mom still alive?
No, she passed many years ago.
And that's okay. That's wild. Now, so let's go into how you get into business in a later stage and how you get into libertarianism and when you get into activism.
So after that, I had many sales jobs, and then I realized, you know what? I should run a business. I mean, I gave my mom one. Maybe I should go do that. 9/11 happens, and I think, okay, this is bad, right? 9/11 was bad. I was selling Craftmatic adjustable beds, believe it or not. I was doing that door to door. And at that point, I'm like, I can't sell anymore because 9/11 happened. The city was shut down. So I literally pack up and move to Delaware. Why Delaware? Because they had an opening in Delaware. So I went to Delaware and I just sold beds there. And then I came back. I thought, you know what? I got to start a business. And I was afraid maybe I want to stay in New York, maybe not. So I started a business in the health food industry. And I moved to outside of Philadelphia. The time I was married, my wife was in New York still. And I moved over to Pennsylvania for a couple of years and I ran a business. And I called that my MBA. I do have a bachelor's degree. It's in anthropology, believe it or not. I know, matters so much, but yes, I'm using it every day. In any case, so I went there and I started a business, and I learned some very valuable lessons. I learned that I knew how to sell, but I did not know how to run a business. And it was about a year or so in, and I'm like, how come I have no money? I'm selling stuff. Why do I not have money? I am selling things. I'm supposed to. When I was a sales rep, if I sold things, I got paid. Now I'm selling things and I have no money because I didn't know all the other things involved in a business and how that worked, pricing, all the things. So over the course of a year, I got so angry at it, I was ready to sell it, believe it or not. But I wanted to make it, to sell it, it had to be viable. So I made it viable enough for someone to buy it. And the guy who bought it, he asked me why I was selling it. And I said, I don't want to do it anymore. I hated it so much. I didn't want to get up into bed and do it anymore. So he said, Larry, I see how much money you want for it, but I don't have it all. I said, no worries. I said, we'll divide it by 6. Give me a check a month for 6 months. We'll call it even. He went, okay. I did it on a handshake. I do not advise this at all. This is not legal advice. Please don't do this. But I did it on a handshake, and I gave him my entire business on a handshake. I actually helped to transfer all my clients over, and I went back home. And I'd made enough money to where I kind of broke even, I didn't really make any money. And believe it or not, he paid me every month on time for 6 months on a handshake.
Good business relationships are better than the strongest of contracts. And if you believe that, if you have the trust, and that's really all that matters, because you could spend years litigating over a very well drafted document. But I had one question. Well, yeah, you're not making money. Is it you're making sales and not collecting, or you're making sales, at losses, or you're just spending too much?
All of it. I was doing all the things, like not recognizing how much I was spending. I wasn't recognizing that at all, because I'd never done it before, right? Even when I had my mom's business, she was doing the books. Mm-hmm. She had been accounts payable, accounts receivable in the past. She was a numbers person. She could handle all that stuff. I wasn't. I was selling and driving, right? That's what I was doing, right? My goal, my skill set was getting customers in. That's what I did well, right? But she was the one setting the pricing. She was doing all that stuff. I wasn't doing any of that. Well, my own business, so my pricing seemed good, but then I recognized, oh no, it was way too low. My pricing was wrong. My amount of spending was wrong. I didn't know when to collect, how to collect, right? All those, I had to figure out how to collect. All the things that every business owner who's successful knows, I learned the hard way by getting my ass kicked. That's how I learned. But that's why I say that was my MBA. I learned marketing, that I would throw marketing money into the garbage, like just throw it into the garbage, right? Here's X $1,000. I get nothing from it. Things like all the errors that everyone goes, Larry, that's rookie stuff. Well, yeah, I was a rookie.
Yep.
So yeah, I made rookie mistakes. So the glory of that though was, boy, was I good after that. You know, one thing I'm good at is when I get my ass kicked, I learn a lesson, right? I learned a lot from that. And from that lesson is when I started my consulting gig. I started, which you might see next to me is my NeoSage over my shoulder. That's my actual company, my day-to-day company that I do consulting in. I do training in business, marketing, leadership more than anything else. And it all came from that time period of me actually starting to do that. I've taught at the graduate level of Columbia and Yale. I've taught at Baruch College, a bunch of different places. I've taught some New York City agencies, Office of Emergency Management, Department of Transportation, Department of Buildings. I've done a lot of trainings there for leadership and such. And that it all came from that. All the curriculum I built from my failures. My failures is how I built my curriculum. So I tell you what to do because I sucked. So don't do what I do and you'll be successful. And that's why my next business, NeoSage Group, has been very successful. It has been successful because of the lessons that I learned in my first two businesses. So that's how that worked.
And now I get the big question is, and we're going to talk about getting your ass kicked. And I won't say you got your ass kicked the first 2 times around in terms of running for office.
No, the second time I did. The first time I did great. The second time I got my ass kicked.
Well, so I was going to say, we're going to get into the lessons you learned in terms of how you're applying them right now, the third time around. But chat wants to know how and when you got to be a libertarian. And I'll say this, I made the joke with when we were organizing this, so that, like, my experience with libertarians, they can be eclectic, they can be eccentric, and they can be outright wacky. And sometimes I do wonder if the libertarian parties of various states are the biggest liability to the broader movement of the Libertarian Party. But if you seem relatively normal, I'm wondering how you got into becoming.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, I say, coming from me, coming from me, you might be really on the eccentricity spectrum. But how did you? How and when did you become a libertarian?
Let me touch the Libertarian Party piece you mentioned, and then I'll walk down that road. The first piece is the Libertarian Party has been winning arguments and losing elections for 50 years. And because of that, we like to argue because we can win those. So we like to argue. But the second piece is because it was built as an activist party, and it really was. It wasn't built, the party wasn't built to win. I'm not trying to insult the party. I'm just saying the history of the party. It was built as an activist party back in the 70s. And because of that, most libertarians, sadly, who are part of the party, it is because they want to virtue signal more than they want to win. When people want power, they tend to join the Democrats or Republicans. When they don't want power, they tend to stay green or libertarian, right? That's generally speaking. Not 100% rule, but it's a good general rule. So people are more concerned about ideology in the party. They're more concerned about virtue in the party than they are power. It's just true. And you can be mad at me if some libertarians are going to yell at me. It's just true. And they'll yell at me because they'll look at something I say and go, that's not libertarian enough, and attack me. And I'm like, great. You get the t-shirt for best libertarian. I'm going to go save my state. You wear the t-shirt. Wear it with pride. So I think that's a big issue with them. So how did I become libertarian? Well, I guess in a way, I can thank Obama for that, to be very full with you. I probably could. And let me tell you why. I was always the rebel. I actually voted for Ralph Nader, and I voted for Ross Perot, right? I was always the rebel guy. I thought those are the guys. And I couldn't have told you any of their policies. Like, I still don't know any of the policies, but I just knew they weren't these guys. Therefore, they must be better. That was my thought process, period. In fact, I thought early on that Nader replaced Perot in the Reform Party. I didn't know there were different parties. That's my extent of politics. Just, I hate the system. I know that sucks. So I'll do that. But I'd never voted for anybody who ever won. So I never really cared if that made any sense. Obama was different. I bought the hype. Mm-hmm. I bought the hope and change. I did. And somebody was laughing at me when I said it, but I'm telling you the truth. I was like, yep, this guy's different. This is it. Jesus has finally come, right? Like, here it is. We got it. We are good now. So the first time someone I voted for actually won. It's the first time. So I thought, okay, now we're in. Now it's great now. See, now it's all good. We can all go home now. It's all great. And boy, was I wrong. And within 2 years, I recognized how I was totally wrong and duped. And I got angry for the first time. When Nader didn't win, I didn't care. He didn't win. I just, whatever, Perot. But this guy won. And I voted for him. It was supposed to work, and it didn't. And I was so bothered by that I didn't want to vote anymore. I was going to check out. I was like, I'm done. It doesn't matter anymore. And that's what made me open to hear Gary Johnson speak in 2012.
I've got to ask for my own curiosity. What was your biggest betrayal, or what was your moment with Obama when you realized that this guy's, I won't put words in your mouth, but at least no better than what had come before him?
Yeah, he did nothing when it came to the wars, nothing when it came to spending, nothing when it came to changing, worse when it came to race relationships. He did nothing when it came to bringing the country together. He was the one who said, there's no blue America and red America. Remember that bullshit he said? We're all just one America. And then we weren't one America all of a sudden. All of a sudden, Republicans were evil and Democrats were awesome. Well, I thought you told me that we were all one America. So everything that he said he was going to do, he didn't do. He didn't all of a sudden make the races better. He didn't make racism better. He made it worse. He didn't all of a sudden stop the wars. He kept bombing people. He didn't all of a sudden take care of the debt. We still doing that. He didn't fix Medicare. He made that ACA garbage. He didn't do anything that he was supposed to do. He was supposed to make things better. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. If you think he made something better, tell me. Are you an Obama fan? Am I making you angry? I'm sorry. Are you an Obama fan?
No, I'm trying not to taint your answer. I think Obama's probably one of the worst presidents, the most deceitful presidents.
We're on the same page. Okay, yeah. I didn't know your background, so I mean, maybe you like Obama. I don't know.
And that'll be for the crowd. That's my poker face right there. You didn't know. No, I
didn't know.
Sincerely, one of the worst presidents that has ever existed. The race relations. I'm from Canada, and so race relations started falling in Canada, if you can imagine, because roughly at about the same time, Trudeau comes into power in Canada and imports that divisive race baiting ideology, and it's basically torn Canada to pieces. So yeah, I say the only thing that Obama did good before I got nauseated by it was his delivery when speaking publicly. He had a good cadence, he had a good delivery, and it was I mean that was the strength. He
still has it, dude. He still has it. Obama, clearly I'm not an Obama fan, but doesn't mean I don't have eyes and ears, right? The guy is charismatic, no doubt. When he is on but it's a difference. Like, I teach communications, right? His skill set when he is literally on a teleprompter, amazing. So good. Great cadence, moves the crowd. When you hear him off, he has ums and ers. He has filler words. His filler words, by the way, are, that's him. Because I teach breaking filler words. If you notice, I don't have many. You rarely hear me do an or an You don't hear me use filler words, right? Because I teach people to not use those. So he has a filler word. It is, The best filler word I've ever heard was Clinton's. His was now. Blah, blah, blah. Now, blah, blah, now, because that also controls the room. Now controls the room, doesn't. So actually, Clinton has a better filler word than Obama does. Anyway, I'm yapping away.
Clinton mastered the pointing without pointing by not having wagging fingers, but the thumb, and it's less aggressive.
I use the open hand. I use the open hand. I'm the open hand guy. If you ever see me, I don't use this. I don't use that. I use the open hand. So yes, I get it completely. Any case, so go ahead.
Oh yeah, so go. So that's how you get into libertarianism, is by being disenfranchised with the man who promised hope and change and delivered death and destruction. When do you become politically active within the Libertarian Party?
Well, 2012 is when I supported Gary Johnson, and I heard Gary Johnson because Gary Johnson was a regular guy. Gary Johnson was an entrepreneur speaking. I was an entrepreneur at the time. I was a trainer, teacher at the time, my own business. So I thought, oh, this guy's making sense. I like this guy. So I went and saw him speak. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I voted Gary Johnson 2012. I joined the party in probably 2013. And then 2014, we had a gubernatorial race here in New York State. A guy named Michael McDermott was running for governor. And I'm like, I'm going to jump on board. This libertarian stuff is good stuff. And people were surprised how much I jumped on board, how fast. Leadership, good leadership in today's world, which I literally teach, is actually libertarian leadership. And that is volunteerism. I don't need your arms and legs as much as I used to. What I need is your brain. I need you to want to be on the same page. The best case scenario in any group of leaders, whenever you can, is to get diversity of thought, not race or gender. Could be that, but diversity of thought is critical. That, again, could be race and gender, but not required. Thought with a unity of purpose. When you have those two things, diversity of thought with unity of purpose, that is your best chance for success. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but it gives you the best chance of success. That's what libertarianism actually is. It's volunteerism. We all agree to go to a certain place. We all want to be here. Each of us can go as we see fit. If you don't want to go, have a nice day, right? And that's why it overlapped with my leadership training. So when Michael McDermott started running for governor, I said, I'm on board. And I did the things. I collected signatures for him. I drove him. I was his driver. I prepped him for the debates. I drove him from New York State. He lived in Suffolk County, which is the furthest east county we have in New York State. And I drove him to Buffalo, which is where the debates were that year in 2014. And I stopped by on the way. I paid for the hotels. I was like, I'm in. I am in, right? I even helped him. We did a couple of radio interviews on the way through. So I was all in on that. And that's where I learned how it worked. But that's where I also know something else. I thought I could do this. That's when I knew by being on his campaign, that's when I learned I could do this. So 2016 comes. And when 2016 comes, Gary Johnson's running again. I'm like, I want in. I want in. I love Gary Johnson. He knows who I am. I'm a donor supporter. I said, I want in. So I actually ran within the Libertarian Party to be his vice president in 2016. Well, I know him. So I sat with him and my daughter. My daughter loves him. Me and my daughter sat with him in a diner in Manhattan. And I told him, I was calling him governor. And I said, Governor, I want to be your vice president. And he said, Larry, I don't want you to be vice president. I don't want it. And I went, okay. I said, look, Governor, who are you looking at? He wasn't sure. He gave me some names he was thinking about. I said, look, if you don't want me to run, you tell me. I will not run because you tell me not to run. He said, this is what he said. Now, I want people to hear this, because this is what a good man Gary Johnson was. And still is, but he's not active anymore in the party. He said, no, Larry, you should run. You'll raise the bar. That's the kind of good man that Gary Johnson is and was. That's why I love that man. He is a good man. You might say, well, he wasn't the best candidate. Yeah, he had flaws, no doubt. But he was a good man. Here's what I promise you. If we had actually had a Gary Johnson presidency in 2016, no new wars, dealing with the debt, fixing things would have been better if we had a Gary Johnson president. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, my point being, so I decided to run anyway. And I have to go up against Bill Weld. Bill Weld's the former governor of Massachusetts. My first debate, I whip his ass. And I'm not saying that as just because I'm proud of myself. I am. But that's not what I'm saying. You can watch the debate. It was an ass whipping. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I lose to him by 31 votes. I'm not counting. You're counting. I'm just saying 31 votes. Not that I care. I'm not bitter. 31, I'm not bitter.
31 not of how bitter. Many? What was the aggregate vote count?
Over 1,000.
Okay. Well, that case, so that's cool. I mean, it's okay. Yes, but
it's 0.3%.
I was doing
not that I'm counting. I'm not counting. I don't care. I'm not bitter.
Yeah, that's like
anyway,
that's like yes. Losing a gold medal to 1/10 of a second, and you
correct. Yes. So yes. In any case, so yeah, that's what actually happened. But it told me something. My first time running, I could almost beat a seasoned politician. Right. That's when I knew, okay, I got something here. So I decided to run in 2018 for governor, because what had to happen in New York State was you had to gain ballot access. And the number one thing Libertarian Party has, those you don't know, the number one asset Libertarian Party has is access to the ballot. Democrats, Republicans have access to all the states all the time, no matter what, because they grandfather themselves in and they make rules stopping everybody else. No other party in the entire country has access to all 50 states. None. The only people who ever have in the recent history has been the Libertarian Party. 2012, 2016, 2020, they had all 50 states. That's what we're going to do. That asset is valued at over $30 million. How do I know that? Because RFK Jr. tried to get on, and he spent over $25 million and couldn't do it. That is a $30 million asset. That is how valuable that is, getting on the ballot in every state. You would think it wouldn't be so hard. But again, America is completely and totally controlled by two private companies. Let me repeat that. Totally controlled by two private companies. And those private companies are the Democratic and Republican Party. Now you might go, Larry, those aren't private companies. They are. Federal law has said that, because when Bernie Sanders got completely railroaded in 2016 by the Democratic Party, he sued. He said, no, this is a political party. The American people are waiting for this. This is how we decide our elections. You have to make this fair and transparent. And the judge said, they're private companies. Do whatever they want. Literally.
I know. I remember that, because I was. Yes. People make fun of me for being a Bernie bro. I was on the camp of Bernie and Trump in 2016. Yeah, and he got screwed, and they said nothing you can do. They make up the rules and they apply them. And if they don't like it internally, they'll vote accordingly internally for the rules and procedure. I remember that clear as day. Part of my red pill.
And I don't mind that at all, except then why are we paying for primaries? Why are they controlling the ballot? If you're going to say they pay for their own primaries, my taxpayer dollars don't go there. They pay for themselves. They pick what they want, and they don't get on the ballot automatically. They have to fight the same way I do. If you do that, I'm fine with that. But they say they're private, yet they run everything. So it's utterly a broken system. It's completely unconstitutional. Judges should have stopped this a long time ago, and they never will because they're part of the same system. The party system has destroyed our judges. That's why they suck so badly, because they're all part of the party infrastructure. They're not loyal to our Constitution. They're not. They're lying when they say they are. It's a blatant lie. What they are actually loyal to is the party infrastructure. So anyway, I decided I'm going to run in 2018, and I do. And I do very well. I mean, that was a great year for me. I raised $500,000. No one had raised more money than me, except for Gary Johnson. I was the number 2 fundraiser, right, in the Libertarian Party. It was the number 2. Only Gary Johnson raised more than me, right? I'd raised over $500,000. I got on the ballot. I got on all the big shows, the Glenn Becks, the Joe Rogans, at that point, Dave Rubin, all the big shows I got on. I built out policy, which libertarians don't build out policy, right? If you notice, most time we talk about libertarians, they will talk about theory, and they're very good at that. I give you actual policy. I will tell you I just gave you the felon policy. I have policies for everything. I literally, if anyone is watching or listening is a policy wonk, please go to my Larry Sharpe YouTube, when you have a second, Larry Sharpe YouTube, and type in 8 hours. I literally, not jokingly, literally did 8 hours straight. No bathroom break, no food break, talking about how to fix New York State. All policy, it is time-stamped for your convenience. I would have gone longer, but I had to stop. And 8 hours is enough. I have a policy for everything. If you name it, I will give you a way to fix it. That's the difference between me and other libertarians. I'm trying to actually fix my state, because if we fix New York State, we can fix the entire nation. That's the most important piece.
Well, oh, you know what? I won't even get to my question right now. Tell us what I know the answer to this question, but please explain it to those who are hearing this for the first time. How and why is New York pivotal for the direction of the country?
New York has been voted by the Cato Institute as the least free state 6 years running. Mm-hmm. Take that, California. We're number 1, right? So yes, we take that. Anyway, pride in my state, I guess. Anyway, so yes, we're the least free. Absolutely. And to be very forward, AOC is my congressperson. And until next month, Mom Donnie is my assemblyman. So yes, I have both of them. I accept your condolences. Yes, this is the reason why. Think about this. Imagine for a moment. New York City picks a socialist mayor, and the New York State picks a libertarian governor. The entire country changes overnight, which means the world changes. It will be earth-shattering. But how can we do it? Let me walk down this road real fast if I could. Why are you even talking to me? Why am I have any chance? What's different than the last couple of times, right? Here's what's different. A thing called matching funds. The real reason why Mamdani won is not because he's super cool and charismatic. He is charismatic. I had him on my show 2 years ago, and I warned the GOP about him, and they ignored him. That was silly. That's their fault. But I knew he was coming years ago. So again, you can look at my Larry Sharpe YouTube. He's right there. I put in Larry Sharpe Mamdani. I interviewed him there. He was a sewer socialist. All good. But the reason why he actually won is a thing called matching funds. Right. There's my day-long policy-thon, 8 hours.
You know what? I will pin this comment to everywhere when this goes live across all the other platforms. But 8 hours. And, getting the Mamdani being charismatic.
Yes. Let me hit that piece if I could.
Oh, yeah, please.
New York City gave him $12 million. People don't know that. $12 million. Why? They have an 8-to-1 matching policy. For every $1 you raise, they will give you 8. So if you raise $1 million, they give you 8 million. So he raised 4 million total. 1.5 was eligible. They matched that, which was $12 million. So New York State also has that now. That's new. So if I raise $500,000 from 5,000 New Yorkers, New York State will not only give me $3 million, but then after that, give me $6 for every $1 I raise. So if I raise another $1 million, they'll give me $6 more million.
This money
is now a winnable race.
This money needs to be raised from New York residents, or can it be raised from across the country?
No, that is my challenge. The amount of money isn't that big of a deal. I've raised $500,000 more than once, right? I can do it again. I'm already in the process of doing it right now. Like I'm raising money now. By the way, LarrySharpe.com. If anybody wants to assist me with that, please feel free. LarrySharpe.com/donate. But if I've done it before, the challenging part is raising $500,000. You're right, from registered New York residents. New York residents. You'll be a resident vote. You'll be a resident of New York State. That's the challenge, right? I haven't done that. I only have about 1,500 to 2,000 donors in New York State right now. So I'm short by about 3,000 donors. So I need more number of donors in New York State. That is my challenge right now. So say I raise money from outside the state, that's fine. I will use that money to get people to join from inside the state. That makes any sense.
Yes.
Via Facebook ads, via email, via advertisements to get local people to give. So yes.
The question is this. So in terms of the importance of fundraising from within the state, and I remember the matching thing because I think it was one of the criticisms against Sliwa.
Yes.
Is that he was only staying in it because it was sort of like a slush fund and they were raising money and spending money and whatever. I'm not addressing the substantive accuracy.
Utter horseshit. Absolutely not true. I know Sliwa personally. I go to his events. He's a good guy. That's not true. Sliwa was a true believer, and the New York State GOP stabbed him in the back and actually told people the New York State GOP told Republicans in New York City, "Hey, vote for Cuomo." The guy who said his words, "There is no place in New York State for conservatives." That guy, vote for that guy, Republicans. That's what they did. Sliwa was stabbed in the back. Absolutely. The only people who are patting their pockets now is the current frontrunner for the Republican Party, which is Elise Stefanik. Elise Stefanik cannot win this race. It is impossible, and she knows it. New York State is only 23% Republican right now. That's it, 20%. Curtis Sliwa, when he ran, he's a known entity in New York State. People know him. He's been in New York forever. The guy started the Guardian Angels. He got 7% of the vote. Not 17, not 70, 7% of the vote. New York State has not had any Republican win a statewide election, not senator, not governor, not AG, in 23 years. It's an entire generation of no Republican ever winning. Worse, Elise Stefanik doesn't even give a crap about New York State. She's not even campaigning. She's just taking up money. And she's doubling down on Republican talking points and Trump. Now, if you live in Oklahoma or you live in Nebraska, that's a wonderful plan. You live in New York, that's a terrible plan. New York Republicans, generally speaking, still like Trump. There's some exceptions, but most New York Republicans like Trump. So you're going to get all the Republicans in their state to give you money and support you. That's 23% of the vote. The rest, 30%, are independents and 47% are Democrats. Where is her hand out to Democrats? Where's her hand out to independents? Nowhere. She can't win. She knows she can't win. This is a grift. Same thing Zeldin did. Some people like Zeldin. This is what Zeldin did. Last year, in last election, 2022, Zeldin raised about $11 million, if I remember right. He spent about $6 or $7 million on his campaign, kept $4 or $5 million in his pocket. Once the campaign was over, he put that into a PAC, which is legal. Totally legal. I'm not saying anything illegal. He did nothing illegal. Put into a PAC, became a head of that PAC, paid himself a salary until they made him EPA. Elise will do exactly the same thing. She'll raise probably more, 13, 14 million, spend like 10 million, put like 4 million in her pocket, put that into a PAC, pay herself a salary until they make her like, I don't know, ambassador to the Vatican or whatever they do, ambassador to Chile or whatever they do, right? Maybe she'll become ambassador to Canada, she'll hang out with you. I don't know, whatever she'll do, right? She'll do one of those things. I don't know. But that's it. Now, here's the problem. If you think I'm joking, Zeldin told us he's going to win. So he said in 2022. If you're going to win, why do you have $4 million left over? Why don't you spend every dollar you had? I would have. I did. In 2018, when I was done with my election, I was 6 figures in debt. When after 2022, I was $40,000 in debt. I spent every dollar I could to win. If he was going to win, how you got $4 million left over?
I'm going to bring it up. This was one of the questions, and I think you basically got to it, is why ask in that race between Hochul and Stefanik, a libertarian would want to enter the race, which he is not going to win in any way, shape, or form, but could draw off enough votes from Stefanik. Here's the question, because I mean, it'll go both ways.
I'll explain it.
Yeah. Well, okay, go ahead, and then I'll follow up with the question.
Yeah. He is full of shit, believing stupid fantasies that the Republican Party has been telling him. He's going to take his money and give it to Republican and throw his money in the garbage. I just told you 23% of New York State is Republicans. Now look at New York City. When Democrats were upset with Democrats, what did they do? They voted socialist. They didn't go vote Republican. The writing's on the wall. Homeboy Jake, you are being bamboozled. Stop.
But here's the question.
Let me keep going. Going. I know already from when I ran in the past, 30% or more of the people who vote for me are registered Democrats. A huge chunk are independents. What does that mean? I draw from all three pools. No Republican can or does. The last 3 elections show you this. They cannot. The problem is Stefanik has a ceiling. I don't. If I get on the ballot, number one, and if I get matching funds, this is a winnable race. Here's the reality. If I drop out tomorrow, Stefanik still gets her ass kicked. She's losing right now in every poll by 15 and 20%. She still loses no matter what if I drop out. If she drops out, I win.
But she's not dropping out. That was the question I'm going to get to. Period. So how are you going to, I say pilfer, but how are you going to get the votes that are going to go to Stefanik from conservatives who are going to look at you and say, I'm going to vote for Stefanik because I believe that she can win?
Yeah, true. And that's what they thought for Curtis Sliwa. I'm going back to the most recent election.
Well, no, nobody even voted for Sliwa back then. So I mean, the question is, what happened to the Republican vote?
Sliwa was at 23%.
He got 7% of the vote in the final tally.
Correct, but he was at 23%. And what changed, brother? What changed? What
People
changed
didn't
was
vote.
No. What changed is the Republican Party said, "Oh my God, Mamdani's going to win. We have no chance. This is embarrassing," and they backstabbed him. Now they offered him lots to leave. He was stubborn. And he should have been because they backstabbed him. But what happens when I get matching funds and I now have $6 million in my pocket? What happens when I go on the debate stage and I eradicate all of them because they have no chance of beating me because they have no policy? There's no way they can beat me. They'll get slaughtered. And the Republican Party goes, "Oh my God, at least he's going to come in third. Larry Sharpe is going to beat the Republican Party. They're going to come in third." And you may say, why does that matter? Here's the nuance that Jake doesn't get. In New York state law, the Board of Elections cannot be run by Republicans, Democrats. That'd be blatantly unconstitutional. So just say top 2 by the executive vote, which is always Democrat, Republican. Well, if I come in second as a Libertarian or as a We the People Party, whichever party comes in second, if I come in second with that, then the Republicans are kicked out of the Board of Elections. They don't run the government anymore. They're never going to accept that. Ever. They're not going to accept. So you have two choices. One, rewrite the rules, which they probably will do, or say, Elise, you know that money you got in your pocket right now? Why don't you take that and become ambassador to Chile and go away? And we'll put Larry on our line. And here's how it works again. New York State specific, which people don't know. New York State has what's called fusion voting. Fusion voting means you can be on multiple lines at the same time, listed many times. That's not all states. New York does that weird stuff. So I'll be listed Libertarian and also We the People. And if they do this, also Republican. And also conservative. I'll be listed 4 times on the ballot. All the votes together all count. That is specific to New York State. See, I know the nuances, my friend. I've run through this garbage twice before. I know all the nuances. This is an actual winnable race. It is because of the rules in New York State. Matching funds, fusion voting, which doesn't exist except in New York State.
So it doesn't require Stefanik backing out. You think you can win with her staying in the race?
And if she stays in the, say she stays in the race. Okay, she stays in the race. And she goes, I don't care. I'm going to stay in the race. I'm a tough woman. I'm going to stay. Okay, great. You stay. Republicans are going to start seeing that she can't win. And what's going to happen? You're going to see her fundraising dry up. Her fundraising initially was great and already began to dry up. How do I know that? Bruce Blakeman, a Nassau County executive, just came into the race to go against her in the Republican primary. Why would he? When she is backed by all the Republicans, over 50% of Republicans are backing her. The state's backing her. The state party's backing her. She's a Trump ally. Why in the world would you step into this mess? Because he saw her fundraising dry up and went, oh, they recognize now she can't win. As we all know. And every Republican I talk to, they go, she can't win. I know she can't win. We all know she can't win. So Blakeman just stepped in. Blakeman stepped in hoping that he can cross over because Blakeman, the advantage that he has is he actually is in a district that's heavily Democratic independent, and he won handily. He can reach his hand across the aisle where Stefanik cannot. So that's how I know there's a civil war right now in the Republican Party. When that happens, they might see some guy like me and go, you know what? Maybe this guy's not so bad after all. Well, and here's the other thing is, once I become, there's a validity issue here. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to make sure.
Please.
The validity issue here we saw when it came to the last independent governor we had. Everything I'm telling you, by the way, is based off of something real. Nothing I made up. Everything I've said actually happened or based on something real. This is Jesse Ventura, who won Minnesota governor back in the 90s. And we found out that, generally speaking, whatever an independent polls at, they get about half at the actual day. So if you poll at 10%, you get 5. You poll at 8%, you get 4. That's the norm. And that happens because most people, they go, I like that Larry Sharpe. I'm going to vote for him. Then they get into the polling booth and go, oh, my Republican might win, my dad, no, and they go back to their old ways. That's common. However, once you hit a certain percentage in the polling, people think you are real.
Mm-hmm.
And then that percentage becomes real. And that's about 25%, give or take. It's about that. So if I poll at 18%, I'm getting 9. If I poll at 25, I'm getting 25 because I've crossed that barrier of I believe he can win. Does that make sense?
I mean,
we know that.
Sense. I just don't,
we know that from him. And right now I poll about 8%. I polled at 0 starting in 2018. By the end of 2018, I polled at about 3 or 4%, and I got 2%. Perfect. And 2022, I polled it at a little over 6%. Now I poll at 8%. So I've been raising my numbers up with only $500,000 in 2 races, which is why, if I'm telling you, if I get matching funds, that 8 becomes 24. That becomes real. This is a real race.
I think one of the mistakes, take it from what it's worth. I mean, I live in Florida now, so I'm sort of, getting a better feel for American politics. But I thought one of the mistakes was Sliwa was, had no chance, and everybody sort of believed it. Whether or not he was stabbed in the back. That they endorsed Cuomo, that Trump endorsed Cuomo, and not Eric Adams, because I thought Eric Adams might have been the middle ground who would have had a better chance.
Yep.
But I mean, there are people who are going to say you have strictly zero chance of getting any form of an endorsement from any conservative, any member of the GOP. What do you have to do to get that endorsement?
Yeah. Generally speaking, that they're correct. But so what? Cuomo got every endorsement from the GOP. And
no, he was a criminal who should have never. They should have. I don't even. Some people view that as a betrayal. Others view it as an act of desperation, and some people view it as both. It was dumb, one way or the other. Eric Adams would have been the better middle ground candidate to endorse
100% true.
Earlier on.
I agree completely. That's what should have happened. But again, the second piece that becomes what do establishment Republicans care about more than anything else? Power. If they think I have a chance of having power, they will endorse me. Not because they like me. To be forward, many of them do. Like, I know a lot of Republicans in my state, lots of them. I have cell phone to many of my congressmen. Like, I know many of them. They would never, I've never even asked them. They would never endorse me. They would. I'm not mad at them for it. But there are 2 things I can do. Number 1, you asked how I could. If there's a thing in New York called a Wilson Pakula. Now, why is it called that? I don't know why, but it's a document. That document allows me or anyone else who is not a member of the party to run in a party primary. The guy who uses it right now is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is actually not a Democrat. He's a socialist, but he runs in a Democratic primary. They allow him to by using a document to allow him to do so. That's how they do it. We have that in New York too. So if the Republicans go, wait a minute, Larry might win this thing, let's let him run in our primary as an independent.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I would get endorsements from Republicans. I'd be running in a Republican primary. That is how I could get it. That's one option.
What happens if you lose that Republican primary? You can go back to being a libertarian.
I'd still be a libertarian. I would be running as libertarian. And again, remember, we have fusion voting, which means I already have libertarian line. I'm already a nominee. I'm the We the People Party nominee already. I'm the Libertarian Party nominee already. If I run a Republican primary and lose it, I still have those 2. If I go in the Republican Party and win it, I gain the Republican line also. The conservative line would just the conservative party in my state is a puppet party. It is whatever Republicans say. So they'll just put me on the line. I would actually have 4 lines. That will be the way. You asked how it could happen. That is the way. Will it happen? I don't know if it will happen, but that will be the way in how we could make that happen in New York State.
Okay. Now, at the end of the day, you got to get the voters and the votes from New York State. You mentioned money. And then I guess the question is, and we're going to get into some concrete things because I've got to ask questions about Hochul, how the hell she has any support. Dexter Taylor, I presume you know who Dexter Taylor is?
I had him on my show. I will pardon him on day 1.
Okay, well, I want to get there anyhow for a better build up to that. That's the already. Oh, it was amazing. But here's the question: with the money,
I'm the one who got him his lawyer.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, I want to have a full, a good 5 minutes on that because it's important for everybody to understand. But you get the money. What do you do with the money to reach the brains of New York voters? This is the prelude to my question as to why their brains are so broken that they would vote for Hochul again. But what do you do with the money to actually reach people?
Yeah, the problem with any independent, and you probably know this if you spend any time on independent candidates, is it's chicken and egg. It is you're not valid till you're valid. People don't give until you give, right? So that's it. So I have to push to get people to give. And my next report is actually at the end of this month. I report January 4th, I think, from December 31st. I report by then. That report matters. If I've raised 6 figures or more, the press goes, oh, he's real. I'm already on board to do that. The question is, how much do I do? I hope I can raise $250,000. I hope I can. I'm not sure if I can get to that level yet, but I'm on my way, right? If I get to that level where I'm raising that kind of money, the press goes, oh my God, he's real. That's halfway to matching funds, right? They're going to go, oh my God, he's real. And then the press will begin to cover me, right? Because of that. But there's two things that we have, people don't understand how this works. Polling and advertisements. Those two things are the biggest ways you get involved. The third way, of course, is what I'm doing now, which is the podcast circuit. Mm-hmm. The podcast circuit's very good. It's very helpful. It helps you to raise money. But the reality of it is the people who actually vote in New York State are those who watch mainstream media within New York State. Those are the people who vote in droves. Mm-hmm. How do I get that? Two things. Number one, I said is polling. And the second thing is advertisements. People don't recognize polling isn't done randomly. Polling is bought by people. I learned this the hard way. One of my ass kickings in 2018, I was raising money. I was Libertarian Party a nominee. So I was not in any polls. So I literally called the polling company. I go, why am I not in your poll? And they went, oh, you don't buy the poll. I was like, what? Yeah, buy the poll. We'll put you in it. I'm like, oh, that's how it's played? Yeah, that's how it's played. Buy the poll, put you in it. I said, oh, okay, how much does the poll cost? $40,000. How am I drop $40,000 only raising $500,000?
Well, and also, people should understand this is, the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is not formal policy, but this is how you pay for a poll.
No, that's formal policy. No. That's formal policy. They will tell you this.
I used to be a lawyer. I know how, and I had experience with these pollster companies. I know how they work. It's yes. Pay to play by definition. Okay, fine.
Correct. So it is.
40 G's and you can get a poll and you can then
so if I raise $3 million, I can put out a poll every month. And it doesn't matter. It does not matter where I fall on that poll because as an independent candidate, the first thing I'm looking for is legitimacy. The fact that I'm in the poll makes people think, oh, he's real. That's how they'll begin to watch my stuff like on your show. That's how they'll go to my website. Oh, he's real. Then they'll actually care. Then they'll hear actual answers. The amount of people who told me in 2018, 2022, Larry, I voted for you because you answered my question. The other guys don't answer. All Elise Stefanik does is go, Hochul's bad. And all Hochul does is, Stefanik's bad. That's all they do. I give answers. So that's number one. But number two, once I have advertisements, here is how it's also pay to play within the radio stations and TV stations. If I don't buy ads, why would they cover me? I start buying ads. Well, I do a $10,000 ad in this local place. Great. Hey, Mr. Sharpe, can you do a $10,000 ad? Why? You're not covering me. Okay, come on a morning show. Done. I'm covered. I'm on a morning show now. So that's also pay to play. You're asking, how do I get on? Those two things. Polling, advertisements gets me on morning shows. People who listen to morning shows vote. People who get into who read local newspapers, they vote. That's how. That is the way how. And then they'll start seeing it. They'll go back and watch my old Joe Rogan. They'll come back and watch this one. They'll come back and do all those things once they see me as being legitimate. So that's how you make the money, doing simply just like that. I already do retail politicking. That's what I do. I travel across the state, as I said, every single year. I've gone to Elise Stefanik's area. She has many areas in North Country here in New York State. And I go there and I say, what do you guys think of Elise? And they go, Larry, we see you more than her. Because they do. And if you're in New York State right now and you're Republican or Democrat, and you think about what you've done in these last couple of cycles, 2018, if you gave your money to the Democrat or the Republican and you gave your vote to your Democrat Republican, you threw your money and your vote away. You threw it away. Cuomo's gone. Other guys gone. I'm still here, still fighting with policies that have been on my website since 2018. And you said you saw my Joe Rogan interview, right?
Yep.
The stuff I said, still valid. The stuff I said would have worked way better than everything we've done in the past 8 years. I was right back then to every single thing I said, and I stand by it, which my policies haven't changed much. I've added more policies as I move forward, but my policies still would have worked. I've got to add more stuff because it's gotten worse over the last couple of years.
Well, I mean,
if you gave your money and time to someone in 2022, again, you threw your money away. But I'm still here. New Yorkers, if you're listening to me now, stop throwing your money away. Stop throwing your time and your vote away. I am an investment. I showed you in 2018, I will break a hole in the system and I will bring people to rush through that hole and we will fix it locally. Local people can't run in my state because the party infrastructure stops them. But when you have a We the People party, when you have a Libertarian party that's local, you can run. You can change things in your town, in your city, in your county. You can make a change. You can put the pressure on the people up top. Right now, my party is becoming a one-party state. It's almost there. It's a one-party state. What does that mean? If you're a Democrat in my state, you don't get what you want. Why? What are you gonna vote for? Republicans? Shut up. You ain't doing that. We've told you they're evil for the past 30 years. You ain't voting for them. If you're a Republican, they literally tell you to leave. Literally. Kathy Hochul said, if you're a Republican, get on the bus and go to Florida. Her words. She said, if you vote Republican, you are anti-American and anti-woman. Her words, not mine. So if you're a Republican in my state, they don't care about you. You're a Democrat, they don't care about you. I'm going to go back to Nebraska and Utah. Nebraska and Utah, very red. They're the opposite, right? I'm deep blue. They're deep red. The Democrats don't bother running statewide candidates anymore. In Nebraska, last cycle for Senate, U.S. Senate, not state Senate, they didn't run a candidate. Democrats, Utah, same thing. They don't run candidates anymore. They can't. They can't raise money. They can't win. No one believes in them. New York State is 2 to 3 cycles away from the same spot where they'll stop running statewide. Well, already in New York City, where I live, where Mamdani, for those of you who know Mamdani, he wins 99-1 because Republicans have not won any, has not run a candidate in this district in 10 years. They don't even run a candidate anymore. The only one is write-ins. The guys write Mickey Mouse and Santa Claus in. Those are the guys who fight. He gets numbers that will make Stalin jealous. Stalin will be like, damn, you get them numbers. I want those numbers. Stalin will be jealous. Saddam Hussein will be jealous. Kim Jong-un will be mad. He wants those numbers.
The question is this. I mean, why do people vote for Hochul? I mean, it's you say they wasted their money. I say they bought their own. They bought their own tyranny. They financed their own tyranny. Are people happy with Hochul, and are they happy with the state of the state of the state?
Of course not. 300,000 New Yorkers leave every single year. We lose $20 billion, according to the IRS, every year just due to migration. That's the only reason, people leaving. We are a disaster. Here's the problem. It is a cultural issue. Democrats have been told for 30 years Republicans are evil, and they've been told for 10 years that Trump is the evilest of all the evil. He is the orange man bad. He is the reason of all. He is the root of all evil. So why would you ever vote Republican? Literally, our governor said, literally, she said, if you vote Republican, you are anti-American and anti-woman. Why would you vote for that person? You can't. Who do they want to vote for? An independent. Well, they've stopped that because it throws off the ballot. If we put an independent on the ballot, you will watch independent do well. How do I know that? Again, everything I tell you is not stuff I make up. It's based on something real. Nebraska, last year, 2024, Dan Osborne, he almost won a Senate seat as an independent. 48%, I think, of the vote. He almost won. In Nebraska, he almost won. Utah, McMullen, 2 years before that, got like 40% of the vote against a very popular Mike Lee. A very popular Mike Lee. I know Mike Lee. I like Mike Lee. He's a good guy. McMullen scared him. Independent. That's how I know. The data is there. The trend is here. New York Democrats hate Republicans. They're evil. Think about if you're a hardcore Republican. What would it take for you to vote for a Democrat? Yeah, they think the same way about you. They think the same way about you.
It's funny because I just assume they have to know that they're being lied to. But quite clearly, if they're supporting a woman like Hochul,
you don't understand it. Okay, I got to be very clear on this for everyone listening who says this kind of thing. This is the thing that's hurting us. This logic. Well, she's bad. Okay, who gives a shit? I can't pay my rent. All right, my kid can't read. You tell me how bad she is? What's your answer? Here's the Republican answer. Nothing. Go to Stefan. I'm sorry I'm upset, but I just hear this all the time. Go to Stefanik's website right now and look for a policy. There are none. No policy. Why? She's not going to fix anything. She just yells Hochul's bad. Here's the reality. When you're struggling and someone puts their hand out, you don't care what armband's on that hand. You know there's a handout and you grab it. That's why Mamdani is mayor. Because what Mamdani did very well is he gave you answers. And you go, well, his answers are stupid. Great. What are yours, asshole? None.
I mean, I was going to say,
nothing.
Yeah, his answers are bullshit. You're going to give you a free metro or free subway. The second he gets in, Hochul says it's not happening. Well, I'm in now. I'm in.
Yes. So, but what was Cuomo's answers? Nothing. You can't just say and expect to win. These guys are bad. They've been saying Trump evil, Trump Hitler for 10 years. The guy's the president twice. It doesn't work. And we keep doing it. Well, Hochul's terrible. So what? Can I pay my rent? Can my kid get educated? Do I have a job? Can I find a girlfriend? Can I buy a house? No, I don't care. I don't care. Give people, when people have a choice between no answer and a bad answer, they take the bad answer. The problem that the Republicans in my state have, and it's not every state, in my state, is they have no answers. I would ask anyone who's Republican in New York State right now who's listening or watching, tell me the answer that Stefanik or any Republican has to fix New York State. Keep thinking. There are none. You've never even heard one. Or you've heard it. We got to lower taxes. They've been saying that shit for 30 years. How? What's that? What do we got? I have an actual plan. I have a plan to build out a New York State social trust, which is actually like a sovereign fund for New York State. We build it out so it can actually pay for education. Why would I want to do that? Paying for education does several things. Number one, when this trust pays for education, school tax goes away. Depending upon where you are in New York State, school tax is about half of your property tax. I cut property tax in half within 2 years with an actual plan that keeps schooling alive. Not just that. If this trust pays for schooling, no need for state funds or federal funds, which means no strings attached. All the strings that screw a system up, that force things like Common Core, that force a testing, that make it so we can't have shop or civics or home ec in school anymore, all goes away. Local people control their own school district. I just gave you not the, well, we got to have school choice, which is the garbage story that Republicans have been telling you for 20 years. I gave you an actual policy. The New York State Social Trust can work. It must be a separate company. And again, following a model that I keep bringing up, the model we follow is the Singapore model and the Norway model. These are two separate sovereign funds. They are separate companies. They're not part of the government. So the government can't just take it. They have a separate CEO and a separate board with a mandate to pay for X or Y or Z. You bring that in, you can back it with either cryptocurrency, you could back it with land sales, you could back it with land leasing, you could back it with energy, you could back it with so many different things in New York State. But you do that, you back within 2 years, it pays for education. You go 2 more years, it could actually pay for Medicaid, Medicare, which means our local communities can have no unfunded mandates. They can start their budget at zero. You have actual control of your own county, getting people back involved. When you add government, you by default remove community. When you add community, you can remove government. Add community, remove government. That's how we win in New York State. I gave you an actual answer. Now you might go, Larry, that can't work. Okay, great. What's your answer? Trump is evil. Shut up. Mamdani's a communist. Shut up. What's your answer? Other guy's bad. I hear that every day. Mamdani's bad. Great. Trump is evil. Great. I can't pay my rent. That's my answer.
Now, I mean, the only, I'd say it's not even pushback. I mean, it involves the debate. The response is going to be, you can't pay your rent because you're already paying too much in taxes. Mamdani basically promised more taxes, but not of the right, of the rich.
You give me a history lesson. Thank you for the history lesson. What's your answer?
Lower taxes.
How? I got it. Great. How?
I don't know.
Thank you. And neither does any politician running. Neither does any politician running. I gave you an answer. Not just, I'll give you another answer. All right. When it comes to our seniors, here's one of the problems in New York State. About 40% of all the money we're paying for pensions is leaving my state. It's going to Florida.
Yeah, well, that's what people don't appreciate is I'm in Florida. I say, like, I see more New Yorkers in Florida than I see 100%. Floridians. And now I didn't even realize it until listening to one of your podcasts. Like they spend their New York pensions in the state of Florida.
Yes, I would like them to not do that. Yes, you've worked for your pension. Good for you. I want you to spend it in my state. How do I encourage that? Number one, I talk about the New York Social Trust, cut your property tax in half. Second piece, if you are a senior in New York State and you've owned a home for 10 years or more in New York State, once you turn 65, your property tax goes down 5% every year until 85 to zero. That's what I want to do. Now, but I'm not just that. In addition, if you're older, maybe you're 75, you don't want to live by yourself anymore, maybe your spouse has passed, I want to live with my son or my niece or my nephew, whatever. You move in with them. If they own a home, their property tax gets half of that benefit all the way down. Larry, will lose money. No, we will not. Because number one, I have more seniors spending money in my state. So that's actually revenue generating. Number two, most of the senior homes in New York State are paid for by the state. So if I've got people staying in multi-generational homes, they're not going to nursing homes. We're not paying for that either. I just showed you a way of cutting taxes without losing any money in New York State. I give you another actual plan. Again and again and again, I keep giving these plans. We can. I'll go one step further. You want to support local people, which we need to for sure. Here's how you support local farmers, local businesses. You make a rule that's already in Wyoming. Again, everything I'm talking about is not me pulling out of my ass. This is stuff that's already being done, right? Wyoming, you make a law that says if you are a local farmer and or local business, either one of those two, and you agree to sell only within New York State, you are immune from all federal regulatory bodies. Why does that matter? Because all the big boys who come in are either multinational or multi-state. They must follow two sets of laws, which means double the accountants, double the lawyers, double all the things, double the fees. You don't. You are now down to just one. Not just that. If you follow my other rules, the felons and such, you can save on payroll tax. Not just that. If you are a farmer and you treat it like a business, as I said business, you can build what you want on your farm. No zoning issues. So you want to put a retail store on your farm. You want to put a wholesale store on your farm. You want to put a manufacturing plant on your farm. New York State has grown to be great in three different ways: farming, finance, forward thinking. We're crushing all three of those. Let the farmers grow their own private stuff. You'll see it rock and roll. We've done it before. We actually did back off on breweries and wineries, and they exploded in my state. Do the same thing for all small business and local farmers. Not just that. You just probably saw something. There's a big scam now with these meat farmers, right? The slaughterhouses, how they're owned by like 3 different companies, right? That's a disaster for New York farmers because the small farmer has to follow those rules. Why? Small farmers should have to slaughter as they see fit, give as they see fit. But Larry, everyone will die. Okay. Every year in New York State, tons of hunters, thousands of them go out and hunt. They kill deer. They slaughter the deer and boar sometimes, depending on where you are. They slaughter them, and then people eat them. Where were all the deaths from all the horrible deers? Zero. It's a fantasy. They made it up. Slaughtering animals is fine. No one's dying. The Amish do it all day long. Where are all the Amish deaths from all the slaughtering that they're doing that's not following FDA guidelines? Where's all the deaths? Doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. All you have to do is say, look, I'm a local farmer. I've decided to not follow federal guidelines. If you don't trust that, don't buy my meat. Done. But what does that do? It encourages farm to table. It allows small farmers to grow. It allows small farmers to control local communities. Done deal. All of a sudden, things start working. Here's the best part. If that begins to happen, farmers become more like businesses, which means the children stay. The children in my state aren't staying. The dad has the farm or the grandpa has the farm, and the kids go off someplace else to be somebody because they don't want to be farmers. But if that farm becomes a business, the kids go, ooh, exciting, interesting, I'll stay. Because now I could be a marketer or an operations guy or whatever. I can do what I want to do in my own family. I'll stay. I'll say New York State's an old state. We have farms that are 6, 7 generations deep, and they're all going away. One more piece I'll bring up: energy. And it's a critical piece in New York State. We've got to fix energy. Energy is insanely a huge problem. And we got to be the greenest of the green, which drives me crazy, but we do. I get it. So here's my answer to that: nuclear power. But a special way to do nuclear power. Special. Number 1, thorium, Gen 4 nuclear energy. The Chinese have already built like 5 or 10 of them in China already. We copied that model, and we put it right now where we've dumped the coal mines. It's about, the coal plants is what, 12 or 14 of them already in New York City we shut down? Pop them right in. The lines are there. The infrastructure is right there. Put them right in. But here's the minor change to this. Every group that wants it, municipality or community or county, has to plebiscite and votes if they want it or not. If they want it, 50% of that power plant is owned in a co-op model by the residents of that place. Why? Several reasons. Number 1, AI is going to be a challenge. Data center is going to be a challenge. Blockchain mining going to be a challenge. It is going to be all those things. Why would you want to have a blockchain mining facility, data processing center in your town? You wouldn't. They don't really bring many jobs, and they suck up all kind of energy, all kind of water. Why would you want it? I get it. You wouldn't want it. But a nuclear power plant creates hundreds of jobs. And for every 1 nuclear power plant job, there's 4 support jobs created. Boy, they want that. I know. Upstate New York wants nuclear power plants. They know what the jobs. Not just that. If the people own 50% of it, so now you want data centers in your area. Why? They suck up all the energy.
But and they pay a dividend to the people.
Yes. So now the people have a couple choices. Option 1, we would like to take that money coming from that nuclear power plant and create a public local bank, a public credit union to support small businesses with loans. Option 1, their choice. Option 2, we just want to check like Alaska does. Alaska does already. We want to, every year at the end, write us a check. We want to basically a UBI base that comes from the private sector. Good, do it. Last, if you want to, up to you. You choose. Or last, we want our own sovereign fund that pays to fix the roads or fix the schools or whatever. I don't care. Let local people figure that out. If that happens, they will be happy to bring all the blockchain mining in, bring all the data processing centers in. Now, what if AI takes all the jobs? What if that happens? You're getting a cut off AI. You don't mind. You're fine. In fact, bring enough data centers in there. I'm getting $3, $4, $5 a month. Yeah, let AI take all the jobs. What do I care? It solves everything.
I mean, not to be cynical, it solves it to the extent of the corruption of government and whatnot. But set that aside. I mean, it's interesting, and people will digest. And we're going to get this to. I was trying to see my demographics in terms of how many people are from New York State. But there was a comment over in our locals, and it says New York. Be crass. New York is a shithole state. Everyone's leaving, and it's basically flooded with debt and illegals, and it's going to go bankrupt. No,
he's not wrong.
What do you do in terms of illegals and in terms of New York effectively being a sanctuary city? What role would you play as governor, and what would you impose on Mamdani?
If he was wrong, I wouldn't be running for governor. I'm not mad at him for saying that. It's clear. I lose 300,000 people every year. He's not wrong. We brought in 200,000 migrants last year, and we still lost 100,000 people. I'm not joking. That's data. So he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Why did those migrants come? Those migrants came for two reasons. Number one, we have about 8 to 10 million American men between 24 and 50 who have checked out of our society. They're done. They don't want jobs. They don't want careers. They don't want girlfriends. They don't want families. They don't want wives, but nothing. They want to hang out in front of a screen all day and rant. That's all they want to do. That's all they care about. Well, who's going to do those jobs? Not just that. We have spent literally 30 years telling our young men that going to the trades is stupid, bad. That's for dumb kids. We have lied to them for 30 years. Utterly not true. The trades is a great place to go. You make tons of money. You always have a job, but we have lied to them for years. Why? Because the federal government rewards high schools by their college placement with cash. That's the reason why. That's why I don't want any federal guidelines. I don't want any money because it wrecks my goddamn school system. That's why we have all those administrators that in my state get paid $400,000 per year. I'm not making that up. To be an administrator, not even see a kid. He's correct. Those are the reasons why we have that, which is why your state, Florida, has a budget half my budget, but more people. It's because of that garbage. So end the federal stuff that has to go away. But I'm still not done. AI is also a fear. So how do we fix that? We brought migrants in. So we did. Big business wants migrants. People all say, we don't want migrants. Absolute horseshit. The big business wants migrants. That's why they're here. That's why they're here. They didn't come here by mistake. Oh, what a... No, big business wants them. That's why they came. Here's how you handle that. It should be a federal issue. To be voted, it should be. The federal government failed us. I'm sorry, Biden failed us. I want to be very clear on that. This is actually not a Democrat-Republican thing. People say it is, but it's not true. Obama didn't do this. Clinton didn't do this. Bush didn't do this. Trump did. Only Biden did this. This was a Biden screw up. This was a Biden action. This was not a Democratic Party action. Democrats didn't want this. Again, Obama didn't do this. Neither did Clinton. Neither did Bush or Trump. It was only Biden. It's a Biden issue. He's the one who got fooled by all these people to have to come in. That's his stupidity or his team's stupidity, whatever the case may be. Anyway, they're here. The best thing you can do is you have to create some way of vetting them because they're here. How are you going to vet them? Here's how you do it. You make it easier for law enforcement to pick up the bad guys, and you make it easier for the good guys to get away from it so they can help out law enforcement. The way you do it is you create a privatized Ellis Island. I would say at least one in the Bronx, maybe one in Brooklyn too, because we have a large population of immigrants in those two boroughs particularly. Maybe Queens too, I'd consider, but at least two of those in New York City. And then maybe upstate, maybe one in Rochester, probably Buffalo too, probably that's two biggest cities, maybe Albany, but a couple of those, you create them. Now, how do you do it? You simply lease out government land. Government does not build anything. It is run by currently recruiting companies. I'm not joking. The model exists already. Recruiting companies right now bring people all around the world, all the time, every day, millions of them. And where's all the murderers? None. Where's all the robbers? None. They know how to vet very well. So you create these places. You build them up within 6 months. They're up and running. It's basically massive hotels. If you want to come to our country, you're here already. I'm sorry. Go to the Ellis Island. Get vetted. You'll stay there for 30 days, whatever the case may be. They'll check you out. If you have all the right things, you're not a gangbanger, you don't have disease, whatever, they give you an orange card. They follow whatever the guidelines are for the government, give you an orange card. You are now legal to work. You follow two aspects of DACA that were good. DACA had some good things to it. The two things that had good was, one, You had to check in every 2 years. If you don't check in every 2 years, we come get you, you're gone. Second, you are not allowed to take any, and I mean any, public assistance whatsoever. Take public assistance, you're gone. Why would I do that? Because the people who actually want to work here, and I think most people are probably good. That's my assumption, right? So they'll come and they'll get orange carded. And then every state that wants it can opt in. I'm a state, I want in, you opt in, take my guys or come to my state, whatever, go work, go pay your taxes, whatever, you're good to go. What does that do? It does two things that helps out ICE. And people go, well, Larry, you're a libertarian. You like ICE? I don't like ICE at all. I hate the government thugs, but they're here. We got to handle it somehow. And there are bad guys. It's just true. Okay, here's how we do it. Right now, ICE has trouble. And you see it. In every city they go to where the cops are not helping them out, they're arresting the wrong guys, making mistakes, going into Home Depot, all that dumb shit. Every place. I don't want that. Here's what I want. The good guys who aren't bad guys are going to go to Ellis Island as fast as they possibly can. They're going to go. And when they go, they will become legal. Now, why does that matter? Because most of these people live in enclaves. So now ICE wants to go in and find the bad guys. Well, no one's going to say anything. Because if you say anything, then you get deported. Well, no, I'm legal now. I went to Ellis Island. I'm legal. Good Pablo doesn't like bad Pablo. He wants bad Pablo to go. So when the cops come in and go, hey, where's bad Pablo? He goes right there. He's in 3C, call ICE. They go and they get him. NYPD can now handle it better. NYPD can coordinate with ICE. And now you're not getting the regular family of two and with the baby. That doesn't happen. You're only getting the bad Pablos. The bad Pablos start getting routed out. And not just that, they start leaving New York State because they're going to get routed out. So the bad guys leave my state. The other states better figure something out because they're coming to you. That's all I'm telling you. Better figure something out. Well, you start making that happen, and what will happen is that's how we handle the people who are here right now. Now, I know the pushback automatically. Pushback is, but Larry, they're illegal, blah, blah, blah. The same virtual signaling horse shit I get all the time. I got it. We physically cannot remove them. We don't have the bodies. We don't have the planes. We don't have the trains. We don't have it. It physically cannot happen. I said this last year when Trump was talking that trash. They're still begging people to join ICE. They're buying planes from Spirit Airlines. You see that garbage? We can't do it. It is physically impossible. So you can virtue signal all day you want and tell me how they're evil and criminals or whatever horseshit you want to tell me. They're here. I want them to not be criminals. Let's get the criminal element, and there is a criminal element. I'm not a guy who goes, they're all good. There's a horrible criminal element there. I get that. But I want that criminal element to self-deport. This is what Trump said he wanted to do. Well, I'm going to help Trump then. See, I'm going to help Trump. They will self-deport this way. They will leave because now the cops can get them without getting the family.
Well, and I appreciate it because your answer is going to be one of realpolitik and not idealism to say, I want them all. People, I was going to read a comment in the chat saying, there he goes, calls the migrants, get them all out. They can do all of that after they leave. But then your answer is it's not realistic. And whether you like the answer or not.
It's that guy's virtue signaling. That's all he's doing. That commenter's like, yeah, but they're evil. So what? Are you going to find 10 million people to get those 10 million and then pay for them all to leave when we're $37 trillion in debt? When, more importantly, big business wants them here and will do everything they can to shut you down? You don't want it, but big business is far more powerful than you. Why? Because you keep voting Republican and Democrat, guy. That's the reason why. You vote Republican, Democrat, which are both corporatists, and that's where the corporate people have more power than you. You vote your power away, and you're mad at me. Better wake yourself up, my friend. Vote for independents who aren't backed by the corporate powers, and then maybe you can make something happen.
Let me get to the other hot litmus test for me is vaccine mandates in the state of New York.
Yes, this is a embarrassment. New York State was an embarrassment. And I say this because I've lived here I was born here 50 some odd years ago. I was born here. If you came to New York 30 years ago, 25 years ago, before 9/11, and you were like, we're going to do mandates, you would have had riots in the streets. You'd been like, no, you've been burning cars. You saw some of that in Staten Island. There was some of that in Staten Island, New York City, but that was about it. We have become a state full of sheep. It is embarrassing that we did. Most don't know this. At 7 o'clock in New York City, during the lockdowns, people came out and clapped on the windows for, the first responders who are saving us and protecting us and blah, blah, blah. We were clapping for our jailers. Brother, that is next level Stockholm syndrome. That's not even regular Stockholm. That's like double Stockholm syndrome. Yay, jailer. Thank you for locking me in my house. That was us. Embarrassment. So a couple things. I'm not against any medicine you want. You own your life. You own your body. If you want to put a medicine in your body, please do so. I'm not mad at you. But how dare you say someone else must? Now, to be forward, when it first happened, I was scared too. And I get being scared. It's okay to be scared. People get scared. I had two people in my life who were over 80. They've since passed, but who both had pre-existing conditions. One had hardcore diabetes. One was on chemotherapy for cancer. And I was scared. I thought if they get the bug, they're going to die. I was afraid. But that doesn't mean that I now get to tell you what to do. I can talk to them. They're my family. And I did speak to them, right? My family is Eastern Orthodox Christian. And they were both churchgoers. And I asked them, I said, please, can you not go to church? I feel scared. I asked them not to. Now, you might go, Larry, you shouldn't have. Well, I have no idea. You can shut up. It's my family. Not just that, I didn't force them. I was scared for the people I loved, and I was worried about them. But I didn't come to your family and tell you what to do, and I shouldn't. I have no right to do so. And here's what I always say. Both of them were okay and went, Larry, okay, we won't go this year. We'll wait. They did, which I was happy. But if they had said, Larry, no, my faith matters to me, and I want to go worship, that's what I want to do, I would have taken them to church, even though I was afraid, because they own their life. You own your. My mother and father both died of cancer. I think I brought this up earlier. My father was younger when he passed. My mother was older. When my father was dying of cancer, he was like, keep me alive no matter what. Cut me open, give me chemotherapy, whatever it is, keep me alive. I don't care. I want quality of life. I'm young. He was 41 when he died. My mother was older, and she also had my daughter, her granddaughter at the time. And she was like, no, I want quality of life. If I can't spend fun time with my granddaughter, I don't want to be here. And my answer was, my question is always, which one is right? And the answer is both. You own your life. Do you want quality of life? Quantity of life. Are you afraid? It's okay. Mandates are unethical. They're unconstitutional. They are just wrong, period. There should be no mandates. But the same thing, don't ban them. If you want them and you're scared, you jump on board. So how do I fix this? I'll give you a policy already. I have a policy for this too. Number one, I want to take a New York State, have a constitutional amendment to the New York State Constitution based upon the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And that is that all lockdowns are by default wrong and unconstitutional and may never happen no matter what. Why? Most people think the First Amendment is about freedom of speech. It is. But it's also about freedom of the press, freedom of association, freedom of religion, right? Freedom to petition, all those things. Well, a lockdown stops all five of those, which means by default, you cannot do it. The First Amendment does not say you get all these rights unless I'm scared. Doesn't say that. There's no unless I'm scared part in the Constitution. Doesn't exist. You get them no matter what. Pass that as a Constitution at a citizens ballot initiative in New York State, into our Constitution, and this way no governor can ever say, well, this is an emergency, so I'm going to change it. No. Constitution, homeboy. You cannot change anything. No lockdowns ever. Now, what does that do? I can't guess what the future stupid mandates will be. And there will be dumb mandates and some stuff I've never thought of, somehow to get around stuff. But having that amendment in our Constitution in New York State gives anybody who wants to sue any mandate standing to sue. So whatever mandate may come up in the future, with that constitutional amendment, any group has standing to sue in my state and to go to the Supreme Court. This way I can stop all mandates with one amendment.
At the risk, excuse me, of asking the question, which whatever, would you suggest any investigations or prosecutions at the state level of players like Fauci, Albert Bourla, and Pfizer?
At the state level, that's kind of federal stuff, isn't it?
It is, but one question I've always asked is, states can go after these people for harms that were caused by what many believe to be a faulty product at the state level, which hasn't occurred in any state that I know of yet.
I hadn't thought of it, to be very forward with you. I don't want to give you a BS answer if I haven't thought of it. My gut says I have so much to do, I'd rather let some other governor do that, not me, because the problem is most New Yorkers would be against that. So I'd be using political capital to make that happen when I'd probably want to use it someplace else. That's my gut, but I haven't thought of it, but that's my gut.
And I like the calculation, which is acknowledging something is going to use political capital and you need to use it Now that'll actually bring us right into the Second Amendment question, which is back to Dexter now. Everybody who's watching knows that I had him on the channel during the week of his trial. He comes on periodically. This is a man who was sentenced to 10 years in state prison for assembling his own firearm, no criminal record in his own apartment. The judge in that case, a state judge, Judge Darke, I believe, said, paraphrasing, there's no Second Amendment in this court. Don't bring it here. One question is, you'll pardon him on day one. What do you do to that judge, and what would be your plan in terms of dealing with this?
Several things. Number one, I want to pardon him on day one, but there is no one running now or in the past 20 years who supports the Second Amendment more than I do. No one. The person in New York State does not exist. In New York State does not exist. Right after I pardon him, I am then going to immediately impeach her. Not only am I going to impeach her, I'm going to impeach all the people who are above her who should have punished her. Because once you say, and you go, why you can't punish judge? She said, you said it, the Second Amendment doesn't exist in my courtroom. So what she said was, the Bill of Rights, part of the Constitution, does not exist in my courtroom. She swore an oath to the Constitution and then decided to discard that oath, and there was nothing done to her. No one above her said, whoa, 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 you can't do that. No one sanctioned her. No one censored her. No one did anything. And there are boards that are to do this, and no one did it. I'm going to impeach her and all of them, and I'm going to take, and I'm not joking, I am also, to show everyone I'm serious, I'm going to take her retirement. I am going to impeach her and take her retirement. Yes, just unconstitutional, I'm just going to take it. She decided that she could just put him away unconstitutionally. Well, I'm going to take your retirement unconstitutionally. I'm just going to take it. That's it. That is your punishment. This is called restorative justice, my friend. She's going to lose her retirement because I deem it so through executive order. Blatantly unconstitutional, blatantly unlibertarian, and I don't give a shit. She's going to lose her retirement. Done. Anyone who writes her a check for her retirement is fired. That is going to be my rule. You do that, you're fired. I'll see you in the unions. We'll fight in the unions because she's gone. She is going to be impeached. She's going to retirement because she took away years of Dexter Taylor's life. But more importantly, people might not know this who are watching this. He has a daughter, a teenage daughter, and she took the father in a black family in America, a father out of a family with a teenage daughter, and she didn't give a shit. The worst part is she's black too, and she didn't care. Didn't care. Well, now I don't care, but I'm still not done. It's not enough. Right now in New York State, there is no movement whatsoever, none, to make Second Amendment laws better. Zero. No movement at all. Most New Yorkers actually want more gun laws. I know it sounds crazy, but the polls are in. It's just true. That's my state. I know what my state is. So here is what I do as governor. I create a blanket, and I mean a blanket pardon for all possession crimes based on the Second Amendment. I've got to do so. The Second Amendment says shall not infringe. So if you have a possession charge, it is by default pardoned. Doesn't matter. Don't bother charging possession. It's pardoned by default. Now, do I rob somebody? That's still a crime. Did I steal something? Still a crime. Did I shoot somebody? Still a crime. Did I brandish that weapon? Did I pistol whip? Still a crime. But the possession crime, pardoned. Any possession crime, that by default destroys our SAFE Act of 2013, destroys all ghost gun laws that we all put into place these last couple of years that Hochul put in, wrecks all those laws like that. Now, once that's wrecked, what will happen? The DAs in my state will go insane. They will go insane. What? You took away half our charging. I know you always do 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 charges to force a plea deal, to force what you do to punish people. Well, that's gone now. They will have to reboot all gun laws. It's the only way to reboot it. Right now, New York State is in no way, shape, or form going to change one gun law. We have to change it. That's how you do it.
Well, the impeachment of a judge has to go through assembly. I mean, the issue is, some things might not be politically popular. You might not want to risk the political goodwill. Others might be sufficiently important to you that you will. How do you even get that political support for the impeachment? And how do you get political support for gun laws, yes, which you acknowledge the vast majority or enough New York Staters don't even want?
Correct. And this is how you do it. In my assembly, sadly, the Democratic Party has a supermajority. No way I can really get around that. But the Senate, not so bad. In my Senate, if I can get 5 to 10 people to change parties to become either We the People or Libertarian Party to create an independent coalition, I can block everything via swing vote. So swing vote is how I survived in the Senate. When I have the swing vote in the Senate, if I don't have the Senate, here's what actually happens. The Assembly passes some stupid law because they're brain dead chimps. They pass some stupid law. Then the brain dead chimps that are in the Senate, they pass that law, comes to me, I veto it. Goes back to the Assembly. They override my veto. I have no power. I'm lame duck. Done. Got it. I don't do that though. Instead, I control the Senate. It never gets to me. It's blocked to the Senate. It can't go anywhere. What does that mean? That means they have to negotiate. So will I be able to be the perfect libertarian governor? No. Will I have to negotiate and give some things? Yes. So I may have to give something up to get rid of that judge. I'll give it up. I may have to pass a budget that I don't really like to get that judge. I'll give it up. I may have to do that to pass. I might to get a good gun law. I may have to give up a stupid taxation law or something. I might have to. I'll give it up. I will have to negotiate. But I can. What I recognized a long time ago is that people think that someone's word in politics matters. It does not. It means nothing. This is the mob. This is the mafia. Everything is enforced via leverage. And leverage is only three things: money, eyeballs, votes. That's it. That is what we trade in the sewer that I am in. This is what we trade in. That's what we trade in. When I have leverage, I can negotiate. Without leverage, I have nothing. So I must create leverage, and I must be able to punish them. I must also show them that I can punish. This is why. All right, a little bit off topic, but on topic. It's mob stuff. People always tell you crime comes from poverty. Utter horseshit. Not true at all. Crime comes from the black market. Because when I can't use cops in courts, I only use one thing: street justice. If you remember how crime flew up like there was crazy in New York City. Why during the lockdowns? Because we took all our young men and said, don't go to school, don't go to work, do nothing. And by the way, we're going to make sure that our entire transport system is collapsed. This way, everything's expensive. The black market's very expensive. And the gangbanger said, thank you. Oh my God, you just gave me an army of young men and a black market. That's great. Now, here's the problem. When you have a black market and you steal my black market material, or you don't follow the rules you said, I can't call the cops. I can't sue you in a court. What must I do? I've got to shoot one of your people in the face in the middle of the city, which is what happened. If you remember, there was actually shootings in public in Manhattan in the streets. What was that? That was, I will do what it takes to enforce my contracts. Keep messing around, see what happens. You next. That's street justice. The same thing follows in politics. If I'm not shown that I will punish people, they'll ignore me. Trump does it all the time. Trump proves it all the time. Trump does it. Nancy Pelosi does it all the time. Chuck Schumer, they all do it. They teach how to do it. It's the mob. This is the sewer, man. That's what it is.
Well, the pardoning Dexter on day one is well within the governor's powers, and that's already
correct.
Amazing. Larry, let me ask you a couple of questions here that we have over in our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community. They might know. Larry getting spicy, says Andrea. Larry describing that New York think GOP equals evil. I was born and raised in California, where Republicans are verboten. As far as the demonization of opposition parties, the reverse effect here in South Carolina. Most positions in South Carolina often only have Republican candidates. Yeah, we actually covered that.
It's very true. That's this is the reason why I know people think I'm silly often, and I get it. I'm not mad at them. It is what it is. But if you want to solve America in any way, you have to have a viable third party. A viable third party by default makes a left-right paradigm begin to collapse. The viable third party becomes the people you can talk to. You can create single-issue coalitions, right? Let's say you're a Republican and you think you should, change the Second Amendment rules or laws. You can't go to Democrats for that. You can go to Independent for that. You're a Democrat. You want to change how healthcare is taken care of. You can't go to Republican for that. You get primaried, but you can go to Independent for that. You can create single-issue coalitions with independent parties to go against the big boys. New York State will go independent before it will go Republican. It will go gold before it will go red. And Nebraska will go independent before it goes blue. He's correct. The states are just reversed. South Carolina is the opposite of California. Yes, Utah is the opposite of New York. But the idea is the same. Independent is the way. If you don't do that, every state eventually becomes a one-party state, in which case Nobody gets anything done. It's important.
Let me pull this back up here. Remove and add to screen. It was Viva, I knew you would love talking to Larry, says Andrea270, who made this all happen. Thinking of Larry's story, I realized there's something that's distinctly entrepreneurial about offering yourself up as a candidate for office. Larry, practical questions. I don't know if you know the numbers offhand. How many people in the state of New York vote in the governor's race?
Yeah, we have about 12 million people eligible to vote, about 10 million or so registered to vote. Half of those are, I don't know if they're real or not. I mean, it's really bad. It's really bad. And give or take about 6 million actually vote.
So 6 million. That's not, I mean, that's 6 million of the 10 million registered. That's pretty good.
It's okay. Depends on where you go. And if you count the, it's between 5 and 6 million in that area, depending upon the time. The off elections, obviously less.
And so how many did the winner get in 2022?
A little over 3 million.
What do you now? You know what you got to do to get 3 million?
I don't need 3 million. If it's three-way race, I don't. I need about 35-40% three-way race. Three ways. We're not a majority state. We're a plurality state.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to get the most. So I'll need about 2 million votes in that area. 2.5. That's what I'll need.
And
2.5 million votes, give or take.
I mean, the epicenter of the vote concentration is New York City and the various boroughs.
Not true. You only get about 2 million votes out of New York City. About 2 million.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the other 4 come outside the state, outside the city. Yep. The issue is people don't realize 1/3 of New York City voters are not, 1/3 of New York City residents are not born in the country. Another 1/3 aren't born in the city. Now, registration's very high because people are registered in New York and we never erase them. So there's like 4.5, 5 million people registered to vote in New York City, and that's physically impossible. And I know this because I'm still to this day, I think, registered twice. Still to this day. I've tried to clear up more than once. I'm registered where I used to live out in Long Island and in Queens. To this day, I'm still registered twice. I've gone more than once to change it. They won't change it. That's how I know it's all bullshit. And because New York City is a transient city, people rope through it all the time. So there are people now who live in Florida registered in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
People who are upstate registered in New York City. I know that's true. So you only get about 2 million votes out of New York City every time. Sometimes under. You get about 2 million out of New York City and about 4 million outside the city.
Well, your next hard date is January 6th reporting, and you want to
January 4th, I think.
January 4th, and you want to raise how much again before then?
Look, I want to get at 250. I don't know if I can. It's a big stretch. But guys, if you guys want to help out, this is important. You might go, Larry, I don't live in New York City. I don't live in New York State. Why the hell do I care? Because what happens in my state comes to you. Someone has to fight in the front lines. I'm the Marine. I'm fighting in the front line. You want someone to stop this? I'm the guy. You want someone to make something change? I'm the guy. You want an independent party to be real? I'm the guy. You want me to get actual matching funds? You give me money from outside the state. I will use it to get money from inside the state. I will get matching funds. We'll raise $6, $7, $8 million. We will win this damn thing, and we will change the entire nation overnight. Think about what happened when Mamdani won the mayor. Imagine if I win the governorship. This will change the entire nation overnight. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not joking. That's true. And with matching funds, it is now a reality. It could happen. Without it, with it, it's possible. Help me out. Support me to the best of your ability. It does matter. If you live in New York State, even better, because then that goes towards matching funds. LarrySharpe.com/donate.
And you're going to give me all those links, and they're going to be pinned up by the time this hits the rest of the world, which will be tonight. We're going to get this up. The question was in our locals community, Viva, what about red flag laws on veterans? This is from Jarhead. I would like to hear his thoughts. I think I know the answer to this. What's your view on red flag laws?
But I get where he's going with this. I'm a veteran. I know I deal with veterans all the time. I train veterans for free. I understand completely. I'm a Marine. I love my Marine brothers and sisters. Also, I love my sailors and my soldiers. My airmen, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you. I'm teasing you, airmen. I'm teasing you. Anyway, but yes, I do love my veterans. Of course I do. And why he says this, a lot of veterans, they won't go get help. Because if they go get help, they get registered in New York State. And they get registered, they lose their guns.
Mm-hmm.
If they say they have a problem, this actually happened in New York State. A guy gets into a car accident. And the person saying, how do you feel? He goes, oh, I feel so bad. I want to die. She writes down suicidal, loses guns. He's right. Red flag laws stop veterans from getting the help that they need. He's correct. Red flag laws do not work. They only harm. They do not make anything better. They're not a good idea. They are virtue signaling. And they're harming veterans more than non-veterans. They hurt non-veterans also, but veterans more because veterans are more likely to have invisible injuries like TBI, PTSD, depression. They're more likely to have invisible injuries that need some actual help. And they're also more likely to feel comfortable around guns and want to have firearms. So yes, it affects veterans more than anything. They're a terrible idea, bad. They should all go away.
Well, I'm gonna put the links to your 8 hours because I didn't. That's it's bookmarked on or timestamped, I should say, by policy. So, Larry, this has been amazing. We're gonna say our proper goodbyes afterwards, and locals all set up another message board afterwards. But this has been amazing, and we went a long time. I didn't think we were gonna go 2 hours, but
I could go another 2.
No, I will. No, this is. I say that we gotta keep this digestible if people are gonna be able to actually absorb it before the next cutoff date. And just put it on blast. But it's been amazing, Larry. So thank you very much. And we'll say our proper goodbyes. Everyone knows what to do. Everyone knows where to go if they're interested, if they'd like to subscribe to your newsletter. Larry, you are you make the libertarians look less wacky than some of the other ones.
I'm trying.
I make that joke because it's the obligatory joke. But Larry, thank you very much. And everybody out there, Godspeed. God bless.